Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here for Digital Dojos. Yeah, still live, still covering tech, believe it or not. In particular, on a day like this, that is a very big tech coverage day. That is the Apple event. Love them or hate them, it goes without saying when Apple drops new iPhones, it makes waves in the scene, even if not just from a competitor standpoint, to kind of see what's out there and what will kind of drive the market. But today we got the all latest and greatest flagship phones from Apple. And whether you agree with that statement or not, it is the latest in terms of the iPhone lineup. So let's dive right into it, and we can talk about where I've been and what I've been up to another time. First and foremost, before we get to the iPhones, the Apple Watch Series 4 was announced today, so we're going to kind of recap really quickly what was announced at the event, give my opinions, and kind of give you some insight to kind of help steer you in the right direction before the pre-order start. Series 4 Apple Watch is the latest in the Apple Watch lineup. Obviously, it is their smartwatch and is the most refined version of the smartwatch to date. What they did with a lot of this in terms of the Series 4 is rebuild it from the ground up. We saw all new housing design to improve things like the speaker design and separating that from the microphone to create that audio separation. If you take calls on your Apple Watch, if that's a thing you do, then it's 50% more louder. I did get to hear this in person in terms of the Apple Watch, but I will take them at their word for it. They really did some cool stuff with the Apple Watch over the years in terms of like the speaker or like the waterproof technology or water resistant technology and how it gets rid of water. But I'm sure the new housing, outside of just making it louder, is more efficient for the hardware overall because you have the new S4 chip, you have improved sensors built into the back, also that you get all that accurate tracking information, whether it's your heart rate monitoring for your workouts or the all new like things like the electrocardiogram, which you can have as a built-in sensor. They even have fall detection. So they did a whole series about how like they did research and development to detect when you're falling and the natural kind of reactions you would have when falling, and it uses like an accelerometer and all this crazy technical stuff. But the gist of it is if you fall and you don't respond, it can contact your SOS emergency contact, which is really interesting. And you can really see the push for Apple with these Apple Watches for a health device purpose. Outside of this, the big redesign is that of the screen, of course. It's 30% bigger, it's edge to edge, it's more immersive, it's more vibrant in terms of the display. And that's really, the big selling point with the Series 4. You have this really nice immersive screen, and it looks gorgeous with the edge to edge and rounded corners. And it just has, some new things coupled with WatchOS. You get the new watch face and complications, which I think are really great because I think it's about time they added more in terms of like what you see on your home screen versus like less and more simplified. And yeah, I'm really enjoying where they're going in terms of the direction with the Apple Watch and really focusing on that health aspect. But for me personally, like I said, I had the Series 3 with the cellular. You can see with the little red crown there. I'm just not a big, I should say I'm a big fan of like mechanical analog watches, as you can see, where I don't wear this every day, and I probably really underutilize having one of these. But in terms of smartwatches, Apple is one of the leaders in that space, and the Series 4 continues that. All right, with that, let's jump into the iPhone lineup. We have three new iPhones announced. We have the iPhone 10 lineup, the current 10 lineup, and that consists of the 10R, the 10S, and the 10S Max. So let's start with the 10R. The 10R is essentially Apple's current entryway in budget iPhone, if that's a way to put it. It's Apple merging the iPhone 8 and iPhone 10 and really solidifying the 10 design overall. No home button, Face ID, all immersive screen experience in that notch. The 10R is the entry gateway if you're looking to get a new iPhone in general. If you're coming from like a 6, maybe even like a 7 or anything below that, the 10R is the entryway because it starts at $750. It has all the new kind of hardware in terms of like the A12 Bionic chip, which was announced today, all of that improvement in terms of like the overall new hardware and internals. What the 10R is different in comparison to that of the 10S. The 10R is a 6.1 inch screen, so you're getting a slightly bigger screen in that design that is the iPhone 10 design. You're getting an aluminum build, so you're not getting the current 10 build with the glass back and all that. It's more of a it's thicker in terms of dimensions too in width. The 10R is going to come in these multiple colors, which are really nice for like personalization and customization. And the colors really do look great. In all honesty, I saw them in person today. The 10R, it reminds me of like that of the 5C. Is that what it was? But it's not plastic. It's more durable with that aluminum build. So it feels like those older iPhones in that sense. You get a single camera that can support portrait mode. It's not the dual camera system, so you don't have the telephoto lens and all that. That zoom lens, I should say, for like wide angle shots. But you do have like the support for portrait mode and all that on the 10R. Outside that, the 10R is not sporting an OLED screen, so it's not the latest and greatest screen. It's sporting what they call liquid retina, so it's focusing more on like color accuracy and color representation. So yeah, there's a lot of whole like, color focus when it comes to the 10R. But the 10R essentially is the gateway phone if you're looking to upgrade from a much older phone. I think if you're coming from a 10, I wouldn't necessarily say it's backwards to go from a 10 to a 10R, because you are getting improved hardware. You're just getting a different build and you know, a different camera, but not necessarily the latest and greatest in terms of that. When it comes to the 10s and the 10s Max, the 10s is the 5.8-inch version iPhone, and this is an S upgrade, meaning that it focuses more on internals, evolutionary, not revolutionary upgrade. The 10s sports the A12 Bionic chip. Also, it's going to be coming in the tiers of 64, 256, and 512 gigabyte storage options, which is crazy to think 512 gigs, that's half a terabyte, is now in our pocket with these iPhones. It supports the Super Retina display, so even much more accurate in terms of color representation and you know, the OLED screens on the 10s and 10s Max. And with that, with the 10s and 10s Max, you have the telephoto lens and the, you know, kind of wide angle dual camera system going on. And with the A12 Bionic chip, which is really powering everything, you get this adjustable depth of field. This is something they really talked about and pushed. So you can take photos and then after the fact adjust the aperture and the bokeh kind of effect after you've taken the photo, which from a hardware and software standpoint is really cool. And if it works like they did in the demos, I'll be interested to see how it works in real life applications. Is really, really great for like camera, you know, people who are more focused on the camera aspects of the iPhone, which a lot of people are since it's their daily driver. But yeah, when it comes to the 10s lineup, this time it's interesting around because really the only difference between the 10s and the 10s Max is purely screen size. It's not like in the past where the Plus phone had like the dual camera system. You got the wide angle lens with the 10 or with the Plus, and then you weren't getting that with the non-Plus model. Or even with the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10, like it was a completely different design that you get. You had the home button or you had Face ID. It's not like that with the 10s or 10s Max. You're literally paying for the Max version to be bigger. It's 6.5 inches, the biggest iPhone to date. And that is going to start at $1,000 for the 10s and $1,100 for the 10s Max. So we are talking a pretty penny here. We are in that era of sub $1,000 phones. Not just in the iPhone space. I mean, with a lot of flagship phones, we're in that $900 to $1,000 range nowadays, which arguably is a lot of money. Like I said, it's a lot of money regardless. Personally, the way I look at it now in terms of justification, these devices, if we use them more and more outside of, you know, communication devices, there's so much more than that now. They're our daily driver for camera, they're handheld gaming devices, they're utility devices, they're internet devices. When I look at it from that perspective, it's something I can justify easily spending $1,000 on for something I use daily, even if it's for like a year plus. You know, just factoring how much it encompasses in terms of like technology devices. But again, if that's outside your budget, if $1,000 phone doesn't make sense to you, that's where the 10R might come into place. So really the big decisions come down to, do you want the bigger phone? Yes or no? Then you can go with the 10S if it comes to the 10S line. Now, the bigger distinction is if do you want the 10R or the 10S, and that really comes down to budget and personal preference. Do you want the, you know, latest and greatest screen? Then you got to go with the 10S. Do you want, you know, that aluminum build or not? I think that's something you have to go physically see and feel in store to kind of see if that feel and that build is for you, or that 6.1 inch screen size is even for you. Or do you want to go with the 5.8 screen size, which might feel more comfortable in your hand, and it's more equivalent to what the 10 is today. That's the 5.8 inch size right here. But yeah, when it comes to the 10s lineup, it's purely, do you want the bigger screen size? Yes or no? The 6.5 inch or the 5.8 inch? Me personally, I'm going to be going with the 10s Max. I'm not a fan of that naming scheme, by the way. Probably the 512 gigabyte version, which is crazy because after taxes, that comes down to $1,500, which is a ton of money. But again, I'm in a little bit more unique use case. where storage options and stuff like that is much more important to me, especially with the amount of media I'm creating on my phone. But yeah, so that is the iPhone 10 lineup. It is just this iPhone 10 era, push from Apple, and I think it's a big reason why they introduced the 10R, so that everybody is used to Face ID, everybody's used to not having the home button, everybody's used to this form factor. Across the line, you're getting these new great A12 Bionic chips. My personal favorite upgrade, which kind of went under the radar, is the 1080p front-facing camera that's going to be on the 10s, 10s Max, and I think the 10R. Essentially, it's 1080p front-facing camera with 60 frames per second. So for you vloggers out there, you get much more silkier, smooth video when you're shooting video like this or like this. And you're narcissistic like myself. No. Jokes aside, that is the lineup. Hope you guys enjoyed the quick coverage and insight into what is the latest iPhones. Love to hear your thoughts and feedback down below. Which one will you be getting, if any, at all? Maybe you're going Android. Maybe you're going across the aisle. Yeah, love to help, or hoped that helped give you some insight into what you may want to go with before pre-order starts. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video, and that will be soon and not months or a year from now. Thanks for watching.